This is Roman script. Only Romans had script, Greeks had script, Celts had a script which is partly African, the Phoenicians had a script which is partly African, the Russians had a script. Only a few Europeans had scripts. 99% of them, as I say, were illiterate. The introduction of science on a high level into Europe came under the Moors. The Moors introduced the first lighted streets in Europe. The first paved streets in Europe were introduced by the Moors. Air conditioning was introduced by the Moors. And it was a special kind of air conditioning. They led their thing over the flower, so they had perfumed air conditioning, which none of us seem to have. In addition to that, algebra was introduced into Europe by the Moors. Algebra, in fact, is an Arab word. Geometry had come out of Egypt into Greece, into Rome, and then came into Europe, into other parts of Europe, that is, because Greece and Rome is in Europe, it came into other parts of Europe. The first people to take water from the mountains and run it down into the homes were the Moors, the blacks and the Arabs, not the Europeans. This is in Europe, you know. The first hot and cold water system in Europe was introduced by the Moors. Many industries, plants, fruit were taken from the rest of the world and introduced where the Moors built their civilization. It is not an accident, therefore, that it was Spain and Portugal where the Moors had ruled from 711 AD until about 1250 AD. They also went on right up to 1492, but in a restricted area, Granada. When the Moors were defeated at Granada in 1492, who do you think surrendered? I have seen in a book when I was traveling last February, this same year, I was invited by scientists to an island called Plum Island. It's the only island, the only agricultural research unit in the United States where they study exotic diseases coming from the rest of the world. And I was taken in a ferry with these scientists to their lab so that I could speak about various aspects of African science. And on the boat, somebody opened the book and started to show me Moorish architecture. And I said, I know about Moorish architecture, but I'm not terribly interested in that because I can't tell what aspect of it is the Arab thing and what aspect of it is really the true indigenous African thing. Show me faces, I want to see faces. And he took out a picture in the middle of the book, a beautiful painting of the Moors surrendering. And who do you think was surrendering? Black people. This is in Europe. In 1492, the year Columbus sailed, the generals who were surrendering Granada were black. But if they weren't surrendering, if they were conquering, they would have white faces. But because they're surrendering, they allow them to be black. That's weird, you know. Because I saw that with Charlotte Young. I read a book by Charlotte Young. She's an English woman on the Moors. And all the time they had blue eyes and fair skins and straight noses. But as soon as they start to give them licks, they turn black. She says, the frightful was the slaughtered Africans. Where did they come from? They were all fair when they were on top. As soon as they start to give them the blows, they turn black.